Could a royal title be enough to save the Sussexes now that they are firmly in the crosshairs of the world's most powerful leader? Right now, the corridors of the White House aren't just buzzing. They are vibrating with a high-stakes electricity following a firepower declaration from Donald Trump, turning a routine press briefing into a breathless political arena. With zero hesitation, the president threw a bucket of ice water over Harry and Meghan's empire, bluntly branding them as agents of chaos, whose endless string of lawsuits has soured the public trust. His piercing gaze and steely tone didn't stop at mere criticism. He leveled a chilling ultimatum that sent shockwaves through the room: deportation. This was no impulsive outburst, but a calculated opening salvo designed to turn the exiled couple's presence into a strategic pawn for his national security agenda, cementing his image as an iron-fisted leader to his electorate. The tension is so thick you can almost hear the heartbeats of senior aides, as it becomes clear this is no longer a reality TV drama. It is a direct political assault on the Sussexes' very survival in America. A deathly silence now hangs over every corner of Hollywood as the world realizes that behind this performative threat lies a powerful government machinery already in motion, ready to exploit the fatal flaws in their residency papers. But what happens when these threats hit the firewall of the legal system? And could Harry truly be stripped of his right to stay over the looming shadow of legal foundations and visa risks? Could an extraordinary ability visa become a deportation order when its holder's only talent is stirring up legal firestorms and national discord? The glitz of Montecito is feeling more fragile by the second as the cold, hard machinery of U.S. immigration law begins to grind the Sussexes' American dream to dust. Prince Harry, who traded his crown for California sunshine, now finds himself standing on a legal precipice with his O1 visa status. Inside sources from Immigration and Customs Enforcement confirm that Trump's warning was no idle threat. Harry's file has been flagged for priority review. Agents are reportedly scouring every public statement, tax filing, and media appearance for signs of moral turpitude or activities contrary to U.S. interests. This is no longer a routine administrative check. It is the full-scale weaponization of immigration statutes, turning vague clauses about societal harmony into a sharp blade ready to sever the exiled prince's right to remain on American soil. The tension within their multi-million-dollar fortress is becoming suffocating as whispers of a denaturalization probe regarding Meghan Markle begin to leak from the administration. While being a U.S. citizen usually offers an ironclad shield, legal vultures suggest that if she is perceived as an agitator or a foreign influence disruptor, rarely used statutes could be dusted off to challenge even her standing. Trump's inner circle isn't just looking for a technicality. They are framing the couple's very existence as a direct affront to American order. A duchess without her duke in her own homeland would be a branding apocalypse that no Netflix deal could survive, transforming them into pawns in a brutal political game where the board is already tilted against them. The walls are closing in, and the machinery is accelerating at breakneck speed, leaving the world to wonder if this is merely a dispute over paperwork. Or is it a calculated strike to dismantle the litigation culture and the backfiring strategies that have turned the couple from global icons into political targets? Is it possible to sue your way into exile, transforming the very courts you sought for protection into the gallows of your American residency? The atmosphere has shifted from a media circus to a chillingly grave confrontation with the American judicial soul. For years, the Sussexes have wielded lawsuits like a personal militia, striking out at tabloids, paparazzi, and even governments to guard their carefully curated narrative. But in the cold corridors of a Trump-led Washington, this litigation culture is no longer viewed as a quest for justice. It is being condemned as a subversive assault on the U.S. legal system. Senior officials are now framing their endless filings as a deliberate act of clogging the courts, a direct violation of the American spirit of self-reliance. By turning every personal grievance into a high-stakes legal battle, Harry and Meghan have unwittingly painted themselves not as victims of the press, but as litigious agitators who treat the United States as their private courtroom drama at the taxpayer's expense. The sense of foreboding is palpable. What the couple once saw as an empowerment tool has backfired into a catalog of evidence for their own removal. The administration is reportedly categorizing their media crusades as a form of social disruption, an offensive strategy that threatens national calm. Each new filing in their ongoing war against the media is now being logged by Department of Homeland Security watchers as proof of a disruptive influence that justifies expedited expulsion. The trap is closing. The more they fight to control their image through the law, the more they provide the government with the very ammunition needed to revoke their welcome. They are no longer just fighting for privacy. They are fighting a ghost in the machine that views their every legal move as a reason to show them the door. As the gavel of executive power hovers over their fate, the courtroom lights are beginning to flicker, revealing a devastating reality. This isn't just about legal fees or lost cases anymore. It is the herald of an apocalyptic ruin of brand and lifestyle that threatens to erase the Sussexes from the global stage forever. What good is a palace in the hills when the world has turned into a prison, and your name has become a poison that no one dares to touch? The golden dream of Montecito is dissolving into a gray, suffocating nightmare as the Sussex Empire faces a total eclipse. This is no longer about a loss of status. It is about a catastrophic, irreversible erasure. The once glittering $100 million empire, built on the pillars of Netflix deals and high-profile media ventures, is beginning to crumble under the sheer weight of being branded unwelcome. In the ruthless executive suites of Hollywood, the silence is deafening. Corporations that once fought for a piece of the royal brand are now quietly drafting exit clauses, terrified that associating with political pariahs will incinerate their own stock prices. The despair is thick enough to choke on. For Harry and Meghan, the realization is setting in that in America, you are only as valuable as your reputation, and theirs is currently being ground to dust by the gears of the state. The social isolation is perhaps even more soul-crushing than the financial ruin. The A-list inner circle, once filled with celebrities and power brokers, is vanishing like a mirage in the desert. Friends who once offered private jets and villas are now ghosting the couple, fearing the toxic fallout of a Trump-led deportation drama. They are being pushed into a cold, lonely exile within their own gated fortress, watching as their vaunted lifestyle is devoured by astronomical legal fees and the terrifying threat of asset freezes. Every sunset over the Pacific now feels like a countdown to a final, humiliating exit, leaving them with nothing but the echoes of a life they can no longer afford to lead. The walls are not just closing in, they are disappearing entirely, leaving the couple exposed to a storm they cannot survive. As their wealth evaporates and their allies flee, a final, chilling question remains. When the American sanctuary slams its doors shut, where on earth is left for a prince and a duchess who have become the ultimate global pariahs in a transatlantic reckoning? What could be more soul-crushing than realizing that while the world's most powerful nation prepares to throw you out, the family you turned your back on is watching in chilling, satisfied silence? The diplomatic stage has transformed into a brutal theater of abandonment, leaving the world in a state of absolute shock. As the deportation machinery accelerates, the silence emanating from Buckingham Palace isn't just deafening, it is lethal. There will be no royal intervention, no secret diplomatic cables to save the prodigal prince. Instead, insiders whisper of a quiet sense of vindication behind palace walls, a cold consensus that this is the ultimate reckoning for a couple who tried to burn down the house that raised them. It is a pitiful sight to behold. A prince of the blood, once a global icon of bravery and charisma, now reduced to a mere case file on a government desk, abandoned by his bloodline and treated as a disposable nuisance by his adopted home. The political symbolism is even more terrifying. Donald Trump is masterfully using the Sussexes as a high-profile sacrifice on the altar of his America First agenda. By targeting the Duke and Duchess, he is sending a shockwave through the global elite. If a British prince can be hunted by immigration enforcers, then no one is safe. There is a stinging sense of pity in watching two people who once commanded the world's stage now being used as a common example of border sovereignty, a believe me moment for a political base that relishes seeing the mighty fallen. They have become the ultimate cautionary tale, stripped of their untouchable aura and left to shiver in the cold wind of executive power. The Sussexes are no longer rebels. They are refugees of their own making, caught in a pincer movement between an unforgiving president and a family that has simply moved on. But as the last diplomatic bridges are burned, the final curtain begins to fall on this American experiment, leading to a conclusion. The end of the American dream, where the only thing left is a forced and final farewell. Was the promise of American freedom ever real, or was it merely a gilded cage that the Sussexes mistook for a kingdom? As the dust settles over the scorched earth of this political battlefield, we are left to reflect on the wreckage of a dream undone by the very hands that built it. The tragedy of Harry and Meghan is not one of bad luck, but of a staggering, blinding hubris. A fatal belief that stardom could override statutes and that a royal title was a shield against a president's pen. There is a bitter irony in watching the Montecito paradise, once a sanctuary of reinvention, transform into a high-priced waiting room for a forced departure. They sought to reclaim their narrative through endless litigation, only to find that in the eyes of the law, they had litigated themselves into a dead end. The American experiment for the Sussexes didn't end with a triumph of privacy. It ended with a cold, administrative ultimatum that rings with a cruel finality. The message etched into the gates of their crumbling estate is clear: quiet down immediately or start packing. It is a devastating lesson in the reality of executive power, proving that even the most famous exiles in the world are ultimately just guests who stayed too long and complained too much. The sun is setting on their California idyll, leaving behind only the haunting resonance of Trump's signature, "Believe me." But as the world watches the final crates being packed, the question remains, is this truly the end of their story? Or is it merely the first chapter of a global exile from which there is no return? Thank you for watching this deep dive into the Sussexes' unfolding crisis. The American dream is shifting, but what do you think? Is this a fair enforcement of the law or a political vendetta? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, hit that like button, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss the next update on this high-stakes. See you in the next video.